Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about Neptune transiting the second house in a natal chart. Now, on average, Neptune will traverse a house for approximately 14 years. However, if your house size is a little bit larger than average, then Neptune will be in there for a little bit of a longer duration. If your house size is a little bit smaller than average, then Neptune will be in there for a little bit of a shorter period. Well, anyway, people, the first thing I'll look at during this time when Neptune transits your natal second house, it's very important to really be careful when making transactions with others during this time, and really be wary of swindlers and con men and people that may attempt to manipulate you on a financial level. And really it's because during this time you might be a little bit more gullible as far as monetary matters may go than usual during this period. This could also be a time where you may generate income from a Neptune, I guess you could say like Neptune-like profession. It could be something connected with chemistry, pharmaceutical work, doing something connected with the metaphysical like astrology, doing something perhaps with special effects, perhaps like illusion, something with illusion like special effects, like or being like a magician or an illusionist. And it could be a time where you really don't quite put as much emphasis on things of a monetary nature than usual. You might be a little bit more apathetic in regards to money during this time than usual. And also keep in mind that the second house is also connected with our possessions. So it's possible during this time you may acquire possessions that are Neptune-like. It could be like astrology books, or it could be something like maybe fantasy novels, fantasy games like Dungeons and Dragons, for example. That's some examples. Something maybe like video games, things that might take you into that fantasy realm, so to speak. And the thing is too that keep in mind the second house is also connected with our values, and it's important during this time that when someone has Neptune transiting their second house, that they understand whatever it is they value, that it's something that should be significant. It's important not to keep in mind not to put too much value in the wrong things. And the second house is also tied into our self-worth and self-esteem. So during this period, you also have to remember that it's very important that not to put stock in things, in the wrong things that make you feel important. Things like money, for example. Most of us know that it's not the root to all happiness or eternal happiness, having an abundance of possessions, and just whatever it might be that may not be. It's important to remember that things, as far as values go, to make sure that it's something that the values are important, and also that as far as our self-worth and self-esteem, that whatever it is that we're doing to make us feel better about ourselves is something that makes sense, and that it's logical, and in the things that should make us feel better about ourselves. And really, Neptune transiting the second house also can make one a little bit more philanthropic, I think. You could be rather apathetic regarding your own income and your own money, but you might be more free in helping others and monetarily, those that are less fortunate than you are. It could be helping the oppressed, the impoverished, the homeless. It might be a time where you might put more money than usual into some kind of charitable organization. And the thing too is that when someone has this transit, they might get a little bit more dreamy about money and might fantasize more about what they want. And it could be a time where you might be a little bit more lackadaisical and more lethargic in terms of trying to make money during this time. So you have to be careful that you don't fall into that trap, so to speak. And also that our possessions, the second house does govern our possessions, and as I stated before, you might acquire things that are Neptune-like, but it's also important too to be careful with the possessions that you have during this time. And you might, like money, you might, with this transit, you might lose track of where your possessions are. They might get misplaced, and be careful who you have in your life that are close to them as well, because through some kind of deception, maybe you might lose some kind of possession. Someone could say, well, I'm going to borrow this for a little bit and then never see it again. So those are some things to look at as far as this transit goes. And it's important too to remember that not to spend money on things that might be frivolous and that you might think are going to be are of some importance, and they're really not. That really things that might not really help you in the long run. So and that's what you want, really. So also, it's important to look at the aspects, if any, that are made from this transit to your natal planets and points, as this could impact the transit. Now, let's say, for example, that transiting Neptune is making a square in conjunct or opposition to your natal Mercury. Well, this could be a time where your thinking might be a little chaotic. You might feel a little more confused than usual, and you might have a little more difficulty making rational and logical decisions during this time. And being that fact that the transit is in the second house, this could apply to things connected with a monetary nature. Now let's take another example. Let's say that transiting Neptune is making a conjunction to your natal Venus. Well, this could indicate that you might be somewhat unrealistic in connection with relationships, in being that and also these people that you might form relationships with may be deceptive to some degree. And being the fact that the transit's in your second house, this might be tied in to things of a monetary nature and your possessions, perhaps. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Neptune transiting the second house in a natal chart. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about Neptune transiting the third house in a natal chart. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.